right. We want to see your beautiful face, Barb.
Oh, we've lost Sue.
On mute.
No problem. Well, we're going to get started. You do your thing, and I'm sure we'll get to see you in a moment. But I just want to start by welcoming everyone to our weekly panel sessions. There she is. Hi, Barb. First of all, thank our panellists, and in particular our guest panellist, which is Kate Wood-Foye, who we're going to hear from in just a moment. People are still joining, so I'm just going to keep admitting people. I do want to remind everyone that we do record this session, and that's purely so that members and other community guests who can't join us at this time can actually watch us on YouTube. So that's the reason for the recording. Please don't let that inhibit you from asking questions and just being yourself, because we're pretty confident that it's really our members who are joining, and so they know you and they're not judging you. So be yourself, ask plenty of questions, and enjoy this morning's session. So I'm going to start with you, Leslie, and if you can introduce yourself as we do each week, but also give us an update from a state government perspective, that would be great. Thank you.
Oh, well, thanks, Kayley, and it's great to be back on that panel discussion, and it's great to have so many others joining us this morning. You know, normally what I would have done is talk about new cases in the area, but it's great that we actually have had no new cases for a number of weeks now. But in saying that, I guess I just really want to emphasise again that we just got to be important. It's really important that we don't become complacent. I mean, I sound like we rant about this a bit, but, you know, social distancing is more important than ever before, because now that we are relaxing restrictions, obviously there's going to be more people out and about, more people, you know, having contact with others. So the social distancing must remain, and just make sure that people are really vigilant about that. And obviously also hand washing. Again, these more than ever before, these two things are so important, because we don't want to go back to tougher restrictions. But if we become complacent about those two issues, then that's what will happen. But the other thing I just wanted to mention, I guess everybody knows that today is one of the key dates, because school's back in full force. A lot of smiling parents out there. And obviously last weekend what we saw was restaurants and cafes being able to have 10 people actually sitting down in the cafe. But again, you know, they do need to comply with social distancing. They do need to comply with the 4 square metre rule, and they need to, you know, basically make sure that they put measures in place to protect not only the customers, but also their staff is really important, and is going to continue to be important going forward. The other big date, of course, is next Monday, the 1st of June, when Yahoo, we get back to the beauticians and our nail salons and so on. Yeah, everyone's excited, including Kate. But again, of course, you know, they're going to have to put they're going to not open the way they normally would open. There are going to be restrictions in place. I've spoken to a couple of beauty salons locally, and they're going to do things like stagger their staff, so only have the half of their staff working, for example, one week, the other half working the next week, for 2 reasons. One, so that they can comply with the social distancing rules, but also if on the, you know, on the occasion that somebody does come down with COVID, it means they haven't lost all of their staff and they don't have to close up shop. So, you know, it's really good that I'm seeing in local businesses, particularly, they're thinking already differently about the way that they're going to operate. I just want to confirm, of course, that there is lots of support out there for small business, and in fact, as you will all know, I've talked before about Service New South Wales being there 24/7, but I've also talked about the business concierge. So yesterday, the Treasurer announced that we are really upping the ante when it comes to support for small business. There are more staff going to be there if you want to book a business concierge meeting, if you want to talk to them about, you know, grants that are available, if you want to talk to them about how do you reopen, making sure that you are complying with the restrictions that are still in place. So don't be afraid to go to the number, the Service New South Wales, either email them, book a business concierge. But again, if you have any questions, and I think there will be more questions as restrictions are starting to ease about who can do what, don't be afraid to contact our office, and we're here to help you. I'm going to leave it at that, because lots of other people have very specific details about the support for small business. But you know, just keep watching my website. I'm going to continue to update it as restrictions ease. And again, don't be afraid to make contact. If there's anything at all we can do to help, whether it's from a business perspective or from a personal perspective, particularly in terms of travel, we are there to support you and to be able to provide you with answers if we can.
Thank you so much, Leslie. Some really good key messages there around us making sure we're not complacent, but also the dates that we need to be aware of, because again, everything's changing on a fairly regular basis in terms of announcements. And it's great to know that, you know, we've got that source of truth in Leslie's office and Leslie's website. So remember that that's open to everyone who has got questions. And for those of you who have joined us this morning, if you do have any questions that you'd like to ask the panelists, please, you can either raise your hand, because I can see you all on my screen with a fairly small group, or put it in the chat box. So there is a chat icon at the bottom of your screen, around the middle. You can or you can message the group. Either is fine, but feel free to put your questions in there and we can answer them as we go. Or you can wait till the end when we've had all the updates. Whatever works for you is absolutely fine. We try to keep this flowing and we try to keep the conversation really informal. So please let us know if you've got any questions for Leslie or any of the other panelists as we go. But I can see that there are no questions in the chat box right now. So what we might do is go to you, Sandra, and I know that you're always able to clear some of the confusion around key dates, around schemes and taxation and different things that are part of our lives now. So if you can start by introducing yourself in case there's anyone who hasn't joined this before, and also give us an update on what's been happening.
Okay. Thanks, Kayley, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me and inviting me along just to share with everyone what we've been doing and how we've been helping businesses affected by COVID. My name's Sandra Magann. My business is Seachange Accounting Solutions. We're a team of 5 accountants who love technology and love helping businesses save time and get on top of their business finances. Over the last 2 months, we've been helping businesses affected by COVID in a number of ways, mainly with JobKeeper. We've had around 40% of our business clients eligible for JobKeeper, and we've been helping them manage that process, determining their eligibility, all the record keeping requirements. And also with the other stimulus measures that were announced before the JobKeeper scheme became available. And I might run through a few of those measures a bit later. And then also helping businesses with their cash flow and cutting costs where their turnover has been reduced. So just a bit of an update on JobKeeper. The key dates to be aware of is, the first one's the 31st of May, which is the last day that you can enrol to claim for April and May JobKeeper. You still need to be eligible, but particularly for the business participants, so the sole traders and partners in a partnership can still apply for April and May, and there's no requirement for them to have paid that money out first. Businesses that have met the requirements to pay their employees the minimum $1,500 per fortnight can still apply, but they must have already made those payments for the first 3 fortnights. And the second date is the monthly reporting. So at the end of every month, you're required to report your turnover to the ATO. You need to report the actual for the last month and then forecast your turnover for the coming month. Originally, this was set for the 7th day after the end of the month, but the ATO have extended this now to the 14th day. So that gives businesses an extra week to update their books and get an idea on where their turnover is sitting. Having said that, obviously, the sooner you can get your figures in and get that application in, the sooner the money comes back. So there's incentive for businesses just to stay on top of their bookwork so that they can report that and get that claim in as quickly as they can. I just wanted to cover off on some of the other stimulus measures that were announced before JobKeeper. that can come into play, particularly with 30 June and end of financial year coming up. One of these was the instant asset write-off that is usually 30,000 has been increased to 150,000. So any businesses buying assets up to that value before 30 June can write them off in this financial year. The other big one was the cash flow boost. So any businesses employing and reporting wages should automatically have a cash flow boost applied to their March and then their June and possibly September BASs. We have been advised that there is a bit of a glitch with the ATO system, so this should automatically be applied when you lodge your March BAS, and this hasn't been occurring. So I just encourage businesses to have a look and make sure that this credit has been applied after they lodge their March BAS. And then if it hasn't, you need to take steps, contact the ATO to have this refunded. Some of the other measures included an early access to super, incentives for apprentices, and the ability to revise your pay-as-you-go instalments. So if you're estimating that your taxable income will be lower this year, you're able to revise those instalments and possibly get a refund of tax that's already been paid. So, yeah,
thank you, Sandra. And it sounds like there's a lot of key messages there around checking. You know, checking your dates, checking that you've received the cash flow bonus and those sorts of things. So, you know, I know you're not big on selling your own services, but I think that if anyone does have any questions around all the different stimulus packaging and taxation requirements, speak to your accountant. And if you don't have one, or you need to speak to Sandra, then you know where she is, as well as, you know, you can access her details on our site. But yeah, one of the key messages that Sandra and Cara keep reminding us is not to self-exclude yourself from anything that's available, because there is a lot of help out there, and to not be so confused by it all that you don't worry about it. The money is there to really help our local businesses. So thank you for that update, Sandra. And I can see from the chat box that there's no specific questions, but if anyone does have any questions of Sandra, you can think them through. I can see people busily taking notes as well, so that's great. But we'll be here for a little while, so you can ask your questions throughout the morning. But we're going to go to our guest speaker now, and thank you so much, Kate, for joining us this morning. I know you're going to give us a great introduction of who you are and give us a little bit of insight into what's been happening at CSU regarding learning opportunities and how you can help members in our local community access some new skills and new ways of learning.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Kaylee, and Kelly for the invitation. So I'm Kate Wood-Foye. I'm the Director of External Engagement at Charles Sturt. So basically my role involves connecting the university with industry and community and looking at opportunities where we can all collaborate for growth. So we've been doing a lot in the university space in terms of looking after our students. Just a quick update of where the university's at. The actual campus was technically closed. However, all of our amazing academics moved all of their classes online. They're very comfortable in this space because we are the leading institution in Australia in online. So it wasn't a frightening aspect for them, but it was something that they had to do really quickly. So they've done an amazing job. So hats off to them for that. And we have had all of our residential students, the majority, were moved back home so they could be safe during the COVID time. However, we did have around 25, 26 students that couldn't get home. So we've had a team based at the university looking after them and making sure they're okay during this time, because it can be quite isolating. Something else that we offered for students over this time were COVID assistant grants. So we did $1 million across our entire footprint in $500 grants for students who were suffering financially over that period, which was great. And just making sure that they're connected. So our residential and student liaison officers are working with them online on WeChat and Zooms to keep them connected. But in terms of what we're doing for the community, my equivalents across the footprint are all working as part of COVID recovery working groups. And I've got one of my team members here today, Catherine. So we've been very much staying connected to our community through emails and calls, and it's really been an incredibly busy time. So an exciting thing that the university released were 14 graduate certificate courses. Now, these are part of the higher education relief package. So what it basically means for people that have been affected by COVID that might want to retrain, it means courses that were normally, you know, $10,000, $13,000 are now available at $1,250 if you're looking in the education sector to upskill. And then in the IT area, so they're all national areas of priority. So if you were looking to upskill in IT or cybersecurity, you're looking at a course that would normally be $13,000, that's $2,500. So there are huge discounts. That's 81 to 89% off normal costs. So how people can access that is they jump onto our website. They just need to be identify that they are COVID affected. There's no testing for that. You just need to say, yes, I've been affected by COVID. And then you would progress to our normal assessment tools. So basically you'd need to have 5 years experience in the field, or you'd have to have an undergraduate certificate. So that's pretty exciting. There are some conditions around it. You need to register obviously after 1st of May, which we all would be doing if we're jumping online and doing that now, but you do need to finish those 4 units of study for the graduate certificate by December. So that's 4 units full time, which is very achievable. So that's pretty exciting, and something that there are 14 that you can actually choose from. So just jump onto the website and have a look at that. Something else that I'm really passionate about is the graduate certificate in community leadership and resilience. And whilst this is not part of the hugely discounted courses, it's something that we are working with a number of communities along the Mid-North Coast. So it's basically dealing with things like the bushfire recovery, disaster recovery, building community resilience, personal resilience, social entrepreneurship. How do we all come together after these series of issues like drought, bushfire, and now COVID? How do we all come together and put those skills in place so that we all come out on the other side much better? So we've got some really exciting things happening in that space. So I really encourage anyone who's passionate about making change in their community. It might be someone who's in a not-for-profit, local government, somebody who's like myself, has a role within a university and then also has a passion in a not-for-profit space. It's really a fantastic certificate, and it was created as part of our co-creation series. So over the last 2 years, our team worked with not-for-profits and different social enterprises across the country to bring this together and say, what skills do you need to make your region succeed? And I guess when this was done 2 years ago, we had no idea that the bushfires would come and then that COVID would hit immediately after. So if you jump online and look at those subjects, they're so appropriate to what's happening now. Some other things that are happening in terms of COVID, Heather Kavanagh, our Deputy Vice Chancellor, she announced very early on $200,000 dedicated specifically to COVID research and basically the study of the impacts long term. So that might be on health, the economy, our communities and business. So all of that research is now underway by our academics, and we're really looking forward to seeing what comes out the other side.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow, there's so much happening that I personally wouldn't have known about. So that's really great, Kate, because it sounds like there's so much happening behind the scenes, and it's exciting to hear about the different courses and opportunities that are available. But it's so much more.
There is so much
that's happening for community and even COVID research. I mean, that's just the fact that you've been able to make that happen so quickly is incredible.
Yeah. I have to say the team were amazing in getting that happening quite early, and they're looking, some of the researchers are looking at the effect of COVID on the equine industry. They're looking at the effect of COVID on the actual pedagogy of teaching maths and science in schools, all these different things. It really spans across the boards. They're looking at things in cultural economy. And I also want to give a huge shout out to Leslie and the state government for helping us with stage 2, thankfully. Stage 2 of our campus development is unaffected by COVID. That was all put to bed in terms of finance prior to this happening, which is fantastic. And again, huge thank you to Leslie for helping us secure that, which means we'll have a whole 1,800 more students coming to Port Macquarie. So despite all the challenges in the current economy, we are on track to deliver a beautiful facility, which will have an innovation hub, a technology lab. It'll have a brand new learning and teaching spaces. And excitingly, from my perspective and Catherine's perspective in the engagement space, we'll have a beautiful 160-seat theatre and gallery. So we'll be bringing the community onto the campus more often and really engaging in industry community connection. So what's happening at the end of the year.
Wow. And it's just so reassuring and exciting, because obviously we're now going to go into how do we rebuild
Absolutely.
our region and how do we rebuild our community. And it sounds like we've got a lot to be excited about in terms of what CSU are doing in collaboration with Leslie and other leaders.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
That's
Any
okay.
questions for Kate before we move on? I can see a couple of comments in the chat box, which is just, you know, how incredibly amazing that is, which is great. But think about any questions that you've got from Kate, and what we might do while you're thinking about that is go to Cara, and if you can start by introducing yourself, Cara, and giving us a bit of an update on what's been happening in terms of accessing grants and all the other wonderful things you do.
Thank you so much, Kayley, and thank you, Kelly. So our business is C2 Hills Consultancy, and we're based at Lake Cat. We're a team of 5, and what we do is we make the wheel of reality work effectively with government. So we do grant applications, tenders, we help go through advocacy for some good projects, and we also provide relevant feedback of what's happening on the ground to government in various industry groups. So what's happened in the past, for this week, there's a couple of things that we need to focus on. If you're, so COVID-19 business support grant of $10,000. Firstly, some industries have been added to that. And secondly, at this stage, that grant closes on Monday of next week at the 1st, which you need to apply for if you're eligible. So there's been some changes since last week. So again, this is how it evolves, and what Sandra often talks about, and Leslie, that it's constantly evolving to the feedback provided by the community of what's needed. So just be aware, relook at those guidelines. The other good news is in April, the state government through John Barilaro and came out to announce there's going to be a bushfire industry recovery package of $140 million. And it was rolled out last week with the guidelines. There's 2 stages, they're both grants, and they're targeting specific industries. So there's 6 industries they're targeting, which is forestry, dairy, agriculture, horticulture, vineyards, and also bees and honey as well. So that's got 2 different streams. So there's supply chain support grants. So if you've been impacted because of COVID-19 in relation to how you can operate and how you can, you know, make your products and sell your products. And the second is actually development grants. So if you see from COVID-19, through every disaster, opportunity presents itself in things that we would never have thought of. And they close on the 17th of July. So there's opportunity there to also look at re-engineering your business, looking at different ways that you can come out of both the bushfire recovery and COVID in a positive light. So, so they're the things that for this week, but yeah, just as I said, the working capital for COVID the guidelines have been updated, so more industries are now eligible. Bushfire grants are still available as well. And just remember that it's for indirect affected businesses as well as directly affected businesses. So yeah, there's a bit of change, some really positive things that are happening, and there's more items to be rolled out. But the state government has been very good at listening. Leslie's been doing an amazing job also in relation to communicating what our community needs. So yeah, keep the channels of communication talking, because we are all here to ensure we do recover from both of these disasters.
Thank you, Cara. And I bet it goes without saying that you've been advocating for our local businesses with Leslie. So a big thank you for everything that you do to make this happen. And I know that you're really passionate about it. And you forgot to say to not self-exclude. So that's usually...
I know, sorry.
Message.
A normal thing, don't self-exclude. So...
And it's a really strong message, and I'm not joking when I say that. Don't just kind of go, oh, I don't think I'd be eligible for any of those grants, or I don't think I'd be eligible for that. If you doubt, contact Cara and find out, or find out through other means. Speak to Leslie's office, because, you know, for the sake of a small conversation, you might actually find that there is help for you, because as Cara always reminds us, you may be indirectly affected and be able to get some help. And if you can get that help, then you might be able to use that money in a really positive, well, you will be able to use it in a positive way, including something like what Kate just talked to us about. you know, which is being able to educate yourself or upskill yourself or invest in new technologies. And, you know, that sort of money is available for you, and it's something that you could use to really help your business and our community. So we've got quite a few questions now going on in the chat box. So it sounds like we've kind of raised some real excitement within the participants of our panel today. So before we go to the questions, I will just apologise that Lauren needed to go. So she had a meeting. So I'm hoping that means that the tourism industry is starting to pick up. So that's exciting. And also we do have an apology from Sue that her internet keeps freezing. So if you're wondering why Sue's in and out a little bit, it's because she's got a little bit of unstable internet. And we also have some really positive comments about your update, Kate. So some real excitement around it. And I think especially hearing about things like, you know, community leadership and community resilience and so on. Like, it just feels like that's just perfect timing. And it's amazing that you've been able to provide such an opportunity, you know, for our community. And it sounds like there's a bit of interest in that. So I know Louise has patiently had her hand up for a few minutes. So I'm pretty sure that she wants to ask a little bit more about that. So let's go to Louise. I'll just unmute you, Louise. I know you're right. Off you go.
Thanks, Kayley. I've actually got two questions. I'll do hopefully the easy one first, which is with Cara. In terms of applying for grants, who would be someone that I could speak to locally about getting help with that? Because I've downloaded and been onto, I think it's Smarty Grants or something like that for two of the grants that are there. And honestly, the questions that they ask are so overwhelming. It's miles long. And I think, crikey, how am I ever going to answer?
Cara.
That's what our primary business, and we've been doing that for 7 years, is grant writing. So there's actually a couple of opportunities. There's also the federal government supporting media organisations at the moment. So there's also media opportunities around some of the diversification that's happening. So we can talk offline, but specifically what we do is we take your project and we write it to the guidelines. We work in conjunction with you. If there's any questions that we're not sure of or we need to speak to the department, we will make those inquiries for you. And we basically demystify the problem. So you focus on, we help you articulate your project, align it to the grant, and then we can work from there. But we've been doing quite a bit of work around special consideration, particularly with Service New South Wales, where the guidelines, you're not a straight box for various reasons, and they've been very flexible in relation to putting a case up and then giving approval. So if you need any, you know, general knowledge, but there is media assistance that has come out from the federal government. The other thing is, just talking about Sue's problem with the her internet, is the federal government is bringing out, as part of the Bushfire Royal Commission, they're asking for feedback of where the telecommunication and mobile services have failed and what's impacted. So what I'll do in a moment, I'll put the link up, but if anyone's got, like Sue's having problems today, or we have, like in Lake Cara, I know it sounds crazy, but if the wind's blowing from a certain direction, we don't have good mobile service. And, you know, we need to notify the government. But yeah, from Louise, from your perspective, we can definitely help demystify, articulate where those opportunities are. So you can put effort in, and we can also explain the risks. So how strong your application is. So you then make an informed decision about going through that process, because grants do come with a risk. You can put in, you know, an application, but we try and minimise those risks, work through them, and ensure that you're aligned to the guidelines.
Cool. Thanks, Cara, so much. I'll send you an email.
Sure.
Then my second question was just a quick one for Kate. If you can just clarify the eligibility for the CSU Community Resilience Certificate. On the website it says that you must hold an undergraduate degree or have 5 or more years of relevant work in local government, community support worker, health or human services. Is that still correct, or is it different?
There are 2 ways to enter, as it says 5 years, an undergraduate degree or 5 years relevant experience. Now, as an example, I'm going to be going into that course very soon. I have not worked in local government, and I do not have an undergraduate degree in that field. So I'll be utilising other community building experience that I've had that I suggest that you may also have, community building, transformative leadership, that sort of thing. So I would definitely encourage you to jump online and apply and just talk with our team about what you could use from your own career that could actually go towards that. My hope is that we can have the largest cohort in the country going through this graduate certificate in leadership and community resilience, because we need this. Our community absolutely needs this. And I think we need people that are not necessarily from the local government field or human services. It'd be great to have a combination of entrepreneurs, business people, media people like yourself. How powerful would that group be if we were able to get a massive cross section? So I definitely encourage you to apply. I went through the process last year, and it took a little bit of time. Absolutely worth it once you get to the other side. So certainly use all the experience that you have and see whether we can get you through for that course.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Wow, isn't that exciting? And I think, you know, really hearing you say that, Kate, imagine if a whole lot of people from our local area went through and did that program.
So exciting.
And just a message from Cara as well that she's just posted to all of everyone as well, reminding us that the government is seeking feedback on what we were just talking about earlier around telecommunications. So there is a lot happening. So I really appreciate everyone not only clearing up some of the confusion that's out there, but also giving us huge amounts of food for thought around things that we could be doing for our local businesses in our local area. I'm mindful of time, but before we go to wrapping up, I just want to check in again with all of our participants this morning and see if there's any questions that you have for any of the panelists or for Kelly, who's getting off very lightly today. No, so it's great that you, even if you haven't got questions, I really appreciate, ladies, I really appreciate you dialing in, because it makes it a big difference for us as a panel when we've got people to talk to. So thank you for that. And I know a lot of people listen at a more convenient time for them. And I know they probably really enjoy being able to look at it at lots of different faces. So before we wrap up, I will go back around to see if there's any final questions, because there was a lot of key messages there this morning, and a big thank you as well to Louise for asking some great questions. So I might start with you, Sandra. Have you got any sort of parting words that you want to make?
Really just a reminder that the deadline to enrol is this coming Sunday, so really there's a week left. Interestingly, one of the accounting bodies conducted a survey on why businesses hadn't taken up JobKeeper, and there were two main reasons that came out of that. And the first was that businesses were scared that if they got it wrong that they would have to repay the money. And secondly was around the confidence of meeting the turnover test and understanding if they'd met that, and then the ongoing requirements with that. So just encourage businesses to seek advice and seek help, just to see whether they're eligible.
That's a really consistent message from Sandra and Cara, is not to rule yourself out. And if it's going to really help you to rebuild your business, then ask the right questions. Sandra, so just to clarify, this is around enrolling, but once you've enrolled once, then you just claim each month. That's correct, isn't it? You don't need to re-enroll every month. So if you haven't yet enrolled your business for JobKeeper, then you have got an extension on that. But if you've already enrolled before and you've claimed for April, then you'll be able to claim for June from the 1st of June up until the 14th of June now in terms of reporting and claiming. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So you've got up until the 14th of June to claim for May. So we've already claimed for April, or we're still in the process of claiming for April for some businesses. And then you do have till the 14th of each month. You do have to report your turnover, but it's not a retest. It's just for the ATOs. They're just collecting data. It's not a retest. It's just reporting those figures.
Thank you so much. There's been so much new terms and understanding of different schemes and different terminology. So thank you for continuing to help that unpack that. Any final words from you, Cara, and then we'll go to you, Barbara, because I can see you've got a question.
Sure. So finally, as Kayley said, and don't self-exclude. Be aware that COVID-19 working capital grants close on Monday of next week, and the guidelines have been updated as of Friday of last week, so that the industries that were excluded are now included. Also look at the bushfire industry recovery packages if you're in one of those industries, the 6 industries currently targeted. As I said, also look at the bushfire grants and opportunities because they're still available.
Great. Thank you, Cara. And the grants that you're referring to, they're cash flow injections, or they're grants that can be invested in things like what Kate was talking about, or it can be spent however the business sees fit?
So working capital grants through Service New South Wales, whether bushfire or COVID-19, are to pay your working costs, so they can pay wages, utilities. You can only pay wages if you're not getting JobKeeper, but you can pay all your other utilities to keep the door open or to keep your business running. The bushfire concessional loans are about recovery and the strategy to help you, so that can be for infrastructure, working capital. And then these new ones that have opened last week, there's 2 mixed, they're all grants, and some other are for working capital, and then others are for infrastructure and redevelopment. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I guess we keep coming back to that same point, is ring Cara and she'll help you to understand, or someone that can help you, but you have got some deadlines looming there, so thanks for clearing that up. Before we go to Kate and Leslie for their final words, I can see we've got a question from you, Barb. Is that a question for Sandra or Cara?
Well, maybe for whoever who may know the answer, maybe Cara. On the JobKeeper, I filled in like the FM1 and 2, fortnight 1 and 2, and that's come through. And then we just go to that website again and fill in the next part. Is that correct?
So that's right, Barb. So what you've done is you've claimed for April, and then each month you need to go in and report your figures and confirm the number of employees, or confirm how many people you've registered for JobKeeper. And so it's a monthly process. Each month you need to go and actually claim for the prior month.
And so do we now wait until May is over, 25th today, wait to the end and then claim again for fortnight 1 and 2?
That's right, yeah. So from Monday, the 1st of June, and then you've got till the 14th of June to get that claim.
That's great. Thank you.
And then you can go shopping, Barb.
Pay some bills.
In all the local businesses that are now opening. Okay, let's go to our guest speaker, Kate. What have you got to add to what's been talked about since we heard from you, or to wrap up with?
Just a wrap up, really, just directing people where to go. So if people want to talk to somebody about the courses that I've discussed today, it's the number's 1800 275 278, and the website is futurestudents.csu.edu.au. And one other quick thing I wanted to add, which is part of the way Charles Sturt is adapting to the market and how people want to learn. There's graduate certificates that we are rolling out at the moment. There are a number of them. They're all stackable and they're all micro subjects. So if you don't want to bite off a whole graduate certificate, you might not have studied before, or you haven't studied for 10 years, 20 years, and it's a little bit daunting. You can actually consume them in stackable units, and you can do them 2 points at a time, which is $600, or 4 points at a time, which is $1,200. And then you add those up, and you can do them at your own pace, and then you'll be walking across the stage with a graduate certificate at the end of that, and some fantastic skills to take back into your community. So from my perspective, I think that's a really attractive option when people are so busy with work, families, life, and trying to get back on track with COVID. There are options to do them in micro credentials. So I really encourage people to jump on and see what else we have on offer, as well as that community leadership and resilience. Thanks for having me, everybody.
Well, that's Kate, thank you. I mean, it's just been so enlightening having you there, Kate, because I mean, I don't know about everyone else, but I certainly didn't know about that. And it gives us so much to think about, not just for ourselves, but for other people that we know who would not only love to do that program, but would love to bring that learning back to our communities. So it's just, yeah, it's made my Monday morning. So big thank you from everyone for joining us and for letting us know about that. And let's finish up with you, Leslie. What would you like to say in closing?
Well, thanks, Kayley. Really, just to remind everybody about looking after yourself as we ease restrictions and we all start getting out a bit more. Just make sure that you continue to social distance. As said, more important than ever for continue the hand washing. You can get sanitizer pretty well everywhere now, so make sure you use it. I sound like an old registered nurse, don't I? Anyway, the other thing I really wanted to say is that, you know, I think our community has just done an amazing job at supporting our local businesses. I think it's just incredible. And the feedback that I've heard from small business is that, you know, they've really been quite overwhelmed by the support that they've received. But I guess my second part of that message is don't be complacent about that either. You know, don't stop going to get your takeaway, you know, once or twice a week to support that local cafe or that local restaurant, because it is still going to be quite challenging for them as they, you know, come out of COVID. And so I think our support from the community is, again, going to be more important than it's ever been. So, you know, keep up that great work about supporting people. You know, I think it's great that we've got Facebook and we continue to get new ideas. We all now have a suite of takeaway food ideas that we never had before COVID. And, you know, I think it's just really important that we continue to support small business and make sure that we all get out of COVID and that those businesses are there for us, you know, come 2021.
Yeah, that's an amazing message, Leslie, and you're so right, because even though businesses are now able to reopen, they need our support just as much, if not even more, because they're reopening with restrictions.
Yeah.
And that can mean that, and in a lot of cases, it means that their costs are even higher and they still need us, or they need us even more. And they need us to be really kind and really empathetic to how they're rebuilding their businesses, and be patient, and to be just really supportive. So that's a great message to end on. And so thank you for reminding us of that. And thank you for continuing to remind us about complacency, because, you know, I think we all agree that now that some of the restrictions are being lifted, a lot of community members we all need to be reminded that we still need to be very, very careful, so that we keep going forward and we don't go backwards. I can see that there's just one more message there. No, that's Barb leaving. I'll just go to you, Kelly, and see if you've got any final words, and then we'll let everyone go and enjoy their week.
Oh, I just wanted to really just say thank you to Kate for joining us. So many exciting and amazing things happening at Charles Sturt, and certainly some really generous support for your students and your community. So thank you for sharing that with us. Pleasure. And of course, as always, thank you to our amazing expert panel for all of your advice and support to our community. I'm excited that we'll have Jeanette Hyde from Greater Port Macquarie Tourism Association joining us next week to share what's happening as our tourism industry starts to open up from the 1st of June, as well as we'll also have Brooke Maggs from Liberty Domestic and Family Violence Specialist Service talking a little bit about what's happening in their space and how they're supporting our community during this time. So yes, we really appreciate all of our HBWN members and partners and sponsors who've been joining us through this period, and I know that our YouTube videos are getting lots of views, so that's great. And thank you for all of our members who joined us this morning, interacted with the panel and asked questions, because it certainly makes for a great discussion. And thank you, Kayley, for being such an amazing facilitator every week. So have a great week, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly, and thank you, everyone. I'm just going to stop the recording and then we will let you all go.